relatively short history of the United States, we've suffered through dozens of economic catastrophes. Inflation, recessions, and depressions have serious consequences for your education, career, family, and plans for the future. That's why this issue is deeply relevant to you and everyone you know. Economists are still arguing about who's to blame for the financial crisis of 2008, which some call the Great Recession. The events leading up to it were like a long chain of dominoes. When one fell, it caused a cascade effect that toppled the whole economy. Mortgage rates dropped, more people started buying homes. With changed regulations, lenders made high-risk loans. When interest rates adjusted up, millions of homeowners couldn't pay their mortgages. They defaulted on those loans, hundreds of banks failed, and Wall Street went into panic mode. More than 170,000 small businesses went under, unemployment doubled, and bankruptcies rose by 74%. Investors in the United States lost $19 trillion in net worth. The suffering that people experienced is incalculable. Radicals, liberals, and conservatives absolutely agree that inflation and unemployment undermine the well-being of society, and they share the same goal of stable prices and full employment. But they strongly disagree on how to achieve that end. That's what all the fights are about when it comes to economic stability. It's time to hear the voices.
So, about the financial crisis of 2008, we weren't victims of an unexpected event. We were victims of capitalism. The obsessive drive for profit toppled the economy, and millions of people lost their homes, jobs, and life savings. Next time, it might not be housing, but water or pharmaceuticals or tech stocks. In capitalism, recessions are guaranteed to happen again and again and again. In democratic socialism, we're set up from day one with everything we need to thrive. State-of-the-art healthcare, decent housing, a universal basic income, and more. We're each given what we need so we can live up to our potential. This puts us in a position to produce the things that are necessary, useful, and beneficial for the whole society. In times of economic crisis, we double down on our commitment to production for use and make sure no one gets left behind. Society bounces back quickly from unexpected events because we start from this firm foundation. Economic stability and beneficial products occur in a continuous and magnificent self-reinforcing loop. By taking care of one another, we take care of our whole economy. Liberals, you balance the economy on the backs of workers. When it overheats, you use the Fed to raise interest rates. People suffer and workers get laid off because demand falls. And when the economy is in a downturn, you make concern noises, but your assistance programs and stimulus checks barely meet people's needs. That's by design. You have to keep them desperate so they'll keep working for low wages. Your stabilization policies are thinly disguised attempts to get the exploitation train running again. On top of that, liberals give corporate welfare to the very firms that crash the economy. That's like giving the dog a treat for ruining the carpet. Those firms expect government bailouts, so they take more bad risks. Fair market policies keep us lurching from one economic crisis to another. They can never fix the problem because the problem is capitalism itself. You conservatives claim to reject government interference in an economic downturn, but you have a very active government agenda. You use government to cut taxes on the rich and lift regulations on firms. You give the top 1% free rein to exploit workers, ruin the environment, and tank the economy. Then you use government to constrain the money supply by restricting it to the pockets of the rich, who start their own currencies and run the private banks. During times of desperation, conservatives leave us dependent on private philanthropy to get our basic material needs met. We're at the mercy of those very billionaires who got rich by exploiting us. They decide what kind of education, healthcare, food security, and everything else we can have. free market capitalism destroys democracy and replaces it with plutocracy, which is government by the wealthy. Now, only misery trickles down. Here's what we should do to ensure that we have stable prices and full employment. Use socialist economics. During a downturn, the federal jobs guarantee is the trampoline that gets people back to work. Public sector jobs offer a decent income, and the jobs serve real needs in society. We also use networking hubs to help worker-owned firms collaborate so they make decisions that prevent the economy from booming and busting in the first place. Then we use public banking on the federal, state, and local levels. Our tax money works for us because it's invested in projects that improve our collective well-being. No one can plan for every unexpected crisis, but democratic socialism quickly stabilizes the economy so the wealth and well-being ripple out to all. So, about the financial crisis of 2008. It wasn't caused by bad luck, or bad timing, or a freak accident. We suffered through years of recession because we didn't have enough government oversight to prevent the risky behavior of banks, investment firms, mortgage lenders, and rating agencies. The profit motive creates untold wealth, but without sensible government regulation to guide capitalism, the economy will inevitably collapse again. People don't always act rationally. Firms don't always act responsibly, and unexpected events can't be predicted. That's life. But luckily, government has our backs. It acts wisely and responsibly to stabilize the economy. During a bust, it takes the wheel and steers money into the pockets of the poor and the middle class. Demand picks up, and firms start hiring. During booms, government responsibly taps the brakes to slow it down, and once again, the economy recovers. Fair market capitalism guides us back to stability no matter which way the economy tilts. We strategically use the helping hand of government to prevent crises and respond wisely to the unexpected. That's how we get safely back on the road to prosperity. Conservatives, it's sickening how you make the rich richer and everyone else poorer. You constrain the money supply and cut the assistance programs that lift people out of poverty. Why? So you can lower taxes on the wealthy. The only thing that trickles down is suffering. Your policies will never work because the rich don't create jobs. It's the demand of the poor and middle class that greases the wheels of the economy and creates prosperity. Plus, it's completely irrational to reject government oversight. Conservatives repeal perfectly sensible regulations. When firms aren't held accountable for their sketchy business practices, speculation causes the next devastating market crash. Despite their anti-government rhetoric, free market capitalists happily let the government pay billions to clean up the mess they made. With their irresponsible policies, the economy careens from boom to bust, and our nation never reaches its potential. Radicals. In times of crisis, yes, it makes sense to give people public sector jobs. But when the economy is on an even keel or overheating, we're stuck paying astronomically high taxes to keep your costly job guarantee program funded. And in your anti-profit system, no one launches new firms. That means no new worker ownership opportunities. So government has to keep its legions of job guaranteed employees busy. It moves into more areas of production and drives existing firms out of business. Soon, there are only public sector jobs, and your networking hubs are a non-starter. Firms stay in business by competing for market shares, not helping their competitors succeed. And then we have radical public banks, which are designed to make bad financial decisions because they're run by committee and have no effective hierarchy. From beginning to end, with democratic socialism, the economy is destined to implode. Here's what we should do to ensure that we have stable prices and full employment. Strengthen Keynesian economics. As Keynes said, the economy self-corrects in the long run. But in the long run, we're all dead. We should take action now to alleviate suffering. In a recession, government increases spending on job programs and unemployment benefits. It also cuts income taxes on the middle class and poor. At the same time, the Fed sets a lower target for interest rates and increases the money supply. In an overheated economy, government does the opposite. Stabilization policies recognize that the poor and middle class are society's principal demanders, which means they're the real job creators. It's from them that wealth bubbles up to create a thriving economy in fair market capitalism. So, about the financial crisis of 2008. Blame the government. First, it forced banks to make loans to people who couldn't afford to pay them back. Then, it meddled with price signals when the Fed manipulated interest rates. Every time the government tries to fix the economy, it drives it into the ground. When government interferes, we're doomed to experience another Great Recession, or worse. No matter where the economy is today, and no matter whether an economic crisis is natural or human-made, our approach is the same. We get government out of the way and leave it to the invisible hand of price signals. Without fail, markets self-correct and capitalism stabilizes itself. It's a beautiful system that doesn't need any one person or committee or government to direct it. Leaving it alone naturally creates a business-friendly environment. Firms create jobs and produce the goods and services we want and need to thrive. As Say's law tells us, supply creates its own demand. That's right. You can't do much demanding if you don't have a job. Free market price signals get us back on track so that the nation can prosper. Radicals. Where do I even start? First, your federal jobs guarantee quickly becomes everyone's first choice because they collect their government paycheck even if they barely did anything at work. Your ripple out approach is a fail because those ripples slam into a wall of apathy. And public banking is another dead-end idea. Government takes over and replaces impartial price signals with councils that sit in a room somewhere. They decide what products are produced, what jobs people can have, and what the money supply will look like. But they're stumbling around in the dark without price signals. And if a few of their decisions turn out to be helpful, that means nothing. Even a broken clock is correct twice a day. The radical economy doesn't have booms or busts. It languishes in a chronic state of bust. Liberals. The bubbles from your bubble-up approach are the last sign of a drowning economy. Keynesian policy is just more taxes, more spending, and more regulations. And that translates into more suffering. You stubbornly insist that we need to raise taxes and impose regulations on job creators? That's completely wrong-headed. It won't turn the economy around because supply drives demand. Instead, we end up with a toxic combination of unemployment and inflation. To add insult to injury, liberals muck around with the money supply when the economy is in crisis. It's overheating, they close their wallets and cause employment. There's a downturn, they throw money around like it's confetti on New Year's Eve. Putting more money in pockets without producing more goods and services only leads to inflation. Fair market capitalism keeps us in a nauseating cycle of ups and downs and makes it impossible for the economy to find a stable footing. Here's what we should do to ensure that we have stable prices and full employment. Use supply-side economics. First, we cut income taxes, corporate taxes, capital gains taxes, and stifling government regulations. We let firms be profitable so they can create jobs and produce the things society wants and needs. Also, we constrain the money supply so prices accurately reflect the value of resources and the desire for products. We eliminate government interference so when unexpected events affect the economy, we simply leave it alone and it naturally comes back into balance. If some people need temporary assistance while the economy is in the process of returning to stability, charitable giving is the bridge that helps them thrive. In free market capitalism, wealth and well-being trickle down to all.
You've just heard the arguments about economic stability from three perspectives. Conservatives, liberals, and radicals each want stable prices and full employment, but they have very different ways of achieving that goal. Now, it's time for you to be part of the conversation.